Welcome everyone. This is Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. It is, what day is it? Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. This is episode 343. It is very odd for me to go live like 3 weeks in a row. It's so strange because we always have Rebecca in between. But last week we did the big community participation for Tour de Fleece. So we have the rest of it today for Tour de Fleece Femme, as well as some of the photos that you guys shared that were all of the final yarns, like your final yarn photos, which is really fun. I have done a ton of spinning this summer, so we are going to talk all about finished yarns today and all of the things that I made. And yeah, we've got lots of people in the chat today. People are, Annie was making soup, vast amounts of soup. She's got family coming in from Manitoba later this week. Eliane is reading and watching and just sitting. And what else? Oh, Rebecca started a Romney Tussa Kiviot blend on her Schneider spindle. She's loving it so far. And what else are people working on? I'm not sure how to say it, Lily. Is it the brioche sweater? She's weaving in the ends from her Tour de Fleece Cormo yarn. Beautiful. Amazing. So, oh, was it 4 shows in a row? No, it's only 3 shows in a row. It's got to only be 3. Was it 4? Oh my gosh. Anyways, it's so good to see everyone. Thank you so much. See everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So I had kind of an eventful weekend because I went over to Victoria to Fibrations, and it was a lot of fun. It is sort of a smaller festival. I've never been able to go before, and a couple of my friends were vendors over the weekend. They've done it in the past, and it was a show that they seem to really enjoy. I was able to meet up with a couple of friends, and of course I was able to see Glenda, which was lovely. We spent most of the day together, which was really, really nice. And I got a few things. So I thought I would actually share with you a couple of the things that I got before we delve into it. Let me get all of my stuff organized, and I'll have a chance to share with you a few things that I got. So let's do that, and then I'll do a little bit of stash acquisition, which we never do. I never talk about the things that I buy because I very rarely buy anything. So it's kind of fun to be able to share with you a few things that I got. So Victoria, in relation to the mainland, is on Vancouver Island. So you take a ferry from the far, far west coast, and it's about 1 hour and 35 minutes. And then you're on the island, and then you drive about half an hour down to Victoria. So Fibrations was in Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia, for those who are like random facts. And my brother and sister-in-law live there. They live around the corner from Glenda, which just cracks me up every time because, like, how small is the world? And when I first got there, they had like a barn kind of area and some vendors that were inside, and then the rest were out on the lawn. And it's just, I know they've been in multiple locations over the years, but Glenda was saying they've been in this location for a few years now, and you can see why. Like, it works really, really well. And for Fibers West back in the spring, I had not been able to go out into the marketplace and look at anything and, you know, support anyone because I was so sick. So I had taught on the Friday, completely lost my voice by the end of the afternoon, and I didn't go back on the Saturday, which had been my original plan. So I had missed this button maker, and I knew about them through my friend Fionn, who's also a part of our community, so many of you will know her, because she bought buttons from them for a cardigan that she had finished back in the spring. And the colors and the aesthetic and all of the things, like, once you guys see them, I mean, you'll just totally understand why I love them so much. They are clay. So I bought a lot of money worth of buttons. Like, the girl standing next to me, she had like a stack of buttons, like all these, you know, they were all like stacked up like this in her hand, like like it's probably 5-6 inches worth of buttons. And she looks at me and she's like, I'm gonna spend like $300 on buttons and I'm okay with my life choices. And like we both just burst out laughing. They're not cheap, but the maker, she is lovely. I think her name is Lori, but I can't remember. It's Mud Buttons, and they're located just up island, so toward the northern part of Vancouver Island. And I bought these ones. Aren't these gorgeous? Aren't those amazing? I just love these. I saw them and I just grabbed them. I didn't even think about it. I tried to get different sizes so that I would have buttons for different things over the next couple of years. I loved her birds. I actually bought an entire strip of just the birds. I wasn't going to, and I kept putting it back, and then finally I was like, what am I doing? I've picked it up 4 times. I clearly need to bring this home with me. And then this one I thought was lovely, because actually if you look, this was the most different from the other ones that I chose, but this is actually a bee. And there were other ones that were bigger, where the bee was bigger and they were on bigger buttons that were more like this size, but no, bigger than that. I'm not sure I bought any of the bigger ones. Anyways, but I didn't love the bee being bigger, and I didn't love it on all of them. And I thought this was just lovely because it's kind of this, my favorite color, you guys know, sort of that mustardy yellow color. I liked the variety, and that'll go really nicely with something, whatever. And then these ones were just so pretty. They almost look like a forest when you look at them up close. And they were quite different. I really, really liked these ones. So there's more of this one. There's 6 of these. So these could go on actually quite a big button band. Something where you need multiple buttons for. So that was one purchase. I was really pleased about that. And then I bought this. This is a novelty yarn. It's just like polyester, but the beads on it are all different colors. So there's kind of this like goldy bronze color, and then clear pink, and then sort of a sea foam. I bought 3 cones of this because I have a lot of undyed hand spun in my stash, and holding this with it would be really pretty. So I'm actually thinking about doing, how the Love Note, you can hold multiple yarns together to get gauge, because you knit it on quite big needles. That's actually my plan for this. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that's exactly what I've been looking for. And they were $9 a cone. They're 225 meters each, so it's more than enough. 700-ish meters of yarn. That'll give me enough to do what I want with. So that's to go with undyed ivory colored hand spun in my stash. And then I found this also in the barn, and actually this was the first thing I saw. It has nothing to do with yarn and fiber and stuff. It is totally out of character for me to buy clothing, but I saw this and it was hanging on this same kind of dye method was like, she had done it. It's from Morningstar Woolens, also from up north on Vancouver Island, in a 100% silk blouse. And it was it was very much out of my price range. It was too rich for my blood. And but she had it on a 100% organic cotton t-shirt as well. And while still pricey, it's hand sewn in a factory here in Vancouver that prides itself on ethical wages and ethical treatment of its workers, and it's here in Vancouver, and they do these t-shirts. Anyways, I just loved this so much, and I didn't even question, I just bought it, which is not like me at all. But I just, we were all kind of fawning over it a little bit and looking at it. It's just so pretty. So it's naturally dyed. The pink is cochineal. The blue is indigo, and then she's played around. She was telling, because she told me what she used in it. She said that she was playing around with daisy, and there's some madder root splashes as well. And she said she just does it in her back garden, and she does all sorts of, there were so many different pieces of cloth that she had that she works on. I just thought it was so pretty. So, yeah. what's the beady yarn? Rico Creative make, oh, yeah. Thank you, Eliane and Amanda. You guys were chiming in there to help out. Thank you so much. Yeah, Pearl Chen, Make It Pearl Chen by Rico Design. Sorry, you guys, I didn't even tell you the name. I'm so unused to talking on the podcast about commercial yarn that like I used to give, like, you know, the name of the yarn company and the name of the yarn itself and the yardage, and I'm just so out of practice because of all these years talking about handspun. But yeah, that's it there. And there were different colors. So there was like green with green beads, and there was like an oatmeal color that was darker than this that had gold beads on it. Like there was a whole bunch to pick from. And then there were some that had, which I had seen in the past, that had glitter or sequins sewed onto it instead, or on it. So they had like a gray base with pink sequins. There was so many different ones to pick from, but this one, as soon as I saw this one, I was like, that'd be perfect for sort of what I've been thinking about in the back of my mind for a long time. And then I did get a little bit of fiber, you know, partially because I wanted to support my friend Nicole. So this is Simply Fiber. This is gray Polworth. The braid is a little bit beaten up, so she had it on the discount table, but I'll just draft it off of the, I'll split it, and then those, each of those lengths of fiber, I'll diz off of the hand cards and get it all tidied up again. It's really lovely. This is the natural gray in here of the gray Polworth there. Beautiful job. So I bought that because it was my colors. And then also from Nicole, I bought 2 of these. This is Hanui in her oatmeal base. So I've worked with this before from my friend Megan of Bramble Ridge, which you guys are more than familiar with. So this is the natural color of the Hanui. It's sort of a fog color almost. It's not true oatmeal. And then she's got these gorgeous colors dyed over top. So I've got 2 of these, and I'm absolutely definitely going to be using this for weaving. So I'll spin something quite fine and weave up something. Maybe I would have enough to do a shirt again, which we'll talk about in the background here, something like that again. But that's the plan. So I have 2 of those, and I saw this bag, and I just couldn't not look at him. Isn't he lovely? So I never buy tote bags, but I saw him and I was like, he has to come home with me. So it was a little bit of a splurge because I normally don't do that. And then the last thing before we move on, I did make quite a large purchase. Some of you already know because you were in spin group this morning. I'm not going to unbox this right now. And for those of you who know what this is, you'll already know what they look like. But I did buy a Dreaming Robots e-wheel fold, and I got the black one. The girls that we were hanging out with on Sunday made me unbox it with them, so I actually have already opened this up. For those of you who aren't aware and haven't heard about this yet, Dreaming Robots just released this wheel. And they're also bringing out, did they already release the 6.1, or they're going to release the 6.1? I had a Nano, sorry for the noise, you guys. I had the Nano previously, but what drew me to this and why I really wanted to look at it in real life and to see one was because, number one, in Canadian dollars, this is under $500, which makes it extremely affordable. But this was the other reason. It literally folds up into a box. And one of my friends that I was with at the festival yesterday, like, she's not seen one of these before. She's not super familiar with these, and she was able to take it apart and put it together with knowing nothing, which is pretty cool. So we'll do some stuff on, and I'll show you guys this on another video. But I did splurge. I hadn't gone there planning to get one, but when Carrie of Chaotic Fibers had 2, I was like, oh, twist my rubber arm, and I did end up, and she had one out to try, and I've spun on their wheels before, and there's many people in our community that have the e-wheel 6. There's a few people in our community that have the Nano. I used to have a Nano. I felt pretty familiar with the wheel, and felt pretty comfortable sort of making a split second decision. So very happy with it. I haven't actually used it yet since I've been home. I played with it at the festival, but I haven't actually like spun on it. Carrie said she owns Chaotic Fiber, and she was spinning on it, and she also had the E-Wheel 6 next to it, so the two were next to each other. She said she's been able to fit more than 4 ounces on the fold on the bobbins, even though they're smaller than the 6. And she was saying that she hasn't had any problems filling up the bobbin. She's done it a couple of times already, which is kind of neat to hear. And yeah, just really happy to be able to not only to get one, but that they're so affordable. So that was wonderful. I don't want to lose my buttons, so I put them off to the side. All right. Yes. So Christine is asking, is it an e-spinner that you'll be able to take away when you go camping? Yes. And actually that's why I bought it. So what I'm finding is the Ashford e-spinner, it would probably be prudent and a really good idea for me to get some 3D printed bobbins for it, because the wooden bobbins are a bit heavy. And so they drain my battery pack really quickly. And my battery pack is compatible with the Fold. And the Fold, Carrie was saying that her battery, when she goes fully charged, she said she was able to last almost an entire week with the Fold running on her battery pack. And like I last maybe 3 or 4 hours with the Ashford, so I have to be able to charge the battery pack. And I told you guys before about what happened with Jasper and the new, when we were away last couple weeks ago. I actually would have been able to charge my battery pack, as it turns out, but of course I didn't know that they had made those changes before we went, so it wouldn't have been an issue. But now I can last for multiple days. It's also physically quite a bit smaller. So while it's a bit taller because of the box idea, your battery pack kind of fits into the bottom of it, and that weighs it down. I could actually theoretically use it in the truck when we're driving. So that would be really lovely. Yeah, and Rebecca said her battery lasts for ages with her 6, and of course with my e-spinner, with my Ashford, it just doesn't. The bobbins are too heavy. The other thing is my Dove, while my plan had been to sort of travel with it a little bit and whatnot and to take it with me, there's not that sort of fold part of it where you can sort of fold it down and protect it and not worry about it being bashed around and banged around and whatnot. So that's fine when we're in the trailer, because I can make sure that it's like protected. But being able to throw something in a suitcase and being able to sort of be a bit, not rough with it, but a little bit more versatile. So over the next little while, I'll sort of compare and contrast between the two and talk about that as well. Yeah, of course, Eve, what about the Dove? Of course, yeah. I was standing there having the exact same conversation with myself, totally. I think the other piece of it too is when I'm home, I really use my treadle wheels almost exclusively, but it's nice to be able to move around, and I've been using my e-wheels more and more. Since I've got the Dove, I've been using it more and more, particularly for applying. And I really like that on the Fold, there's a digital readout for the RPM. And the fact that it holds 4 ounces on the bobbin means that I can ply quite quickly. Carrie said she can ply very fast, which is nice. Yeah, Diane said a friend got the Fold and loves it. Yeah, and I'll do a bit of a compare and contrast between the two over the next little while, and pros and cons of both wheels and how they compare, and they're both very smooth. When I was playing with the Fold at the festival on Sunday, it's very smooth. It has a really nice when you press the go button, the on button, it's very smooth when it starts up, and then when you stop it, again, very smooth. So yeah, I'll share how that goes. Eve was saying that she uses her Nano in the garden, easier than moving a wheel. It's funny that you would say that, Eve, because I was plying on my Dove yesterday out on the patio, and it's just so much easier to move it around than trying to move my treadle wheel out there, and it's not quite wide enough, and I have to move my chair and da-da-da. It's all about convenience. How can we get ourselves to use our stuff and be successful, that we get to make more things? All right, let's talk about, I'm gonna cough, just one sec. I am still sick. I am still fighting my cold and getting better. It has definitely been a bit of a summer. I feel like I haven't really had a summer, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Let's talk about Tour de Fleece. I'd really like to talk about Tour de Fleece and share with you sort of how that all went for me, particularly because I was basically sick the whole time. So let's get into some spinning. Okay, so Tour de Fleece for me went really, really, really well. I had 2 goals this year, and I talked about this on Willow Spinning Radio a little bit, so I'm not going to wax poetic about it for a long time, but I kind of had 2 goals. One, I wanted to spin every day. And 2, I wanted to take a photo every day and kind of log what I was able to accomplish so that at the end I could look back and say, I did the thing. So I ended up in the end, and then I wanted to do the same for Tour de Fleece Femme. I didn't want to just do the one and not do the other. So for Tour de Fleece, I actually was able to spin through, I should just do the whole thing. So for the entire tour, Tour de Fleece Homme and Tour de Fleece Femme, I was able to spin through, is it 10 or 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 braids. And then the Bramble Ridge one, that's the photos that you just saw cycle through just now that on the spindles, that is almost done. I thought I would get some spindling done this weekend, but I just didn't. And I didn't get any spindling done. I had taken them with me to the festival, but there just wasn't enough downtime to be able to do that. I wanted to maximize my time at the festival. I did 1 combo spin. I wish I had done 2. 2 of the braids that I spun, I wish I had combined, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And because I took that bin of all of those braids and I didn't really know what was in the bin, and I just kind of pulled things out and started spinning each of them and just sort of, didn't overanalyze it. I didn't think about it a ton. I just looked at the braid, looked at how the colors were, and then I just started spinning. So because of that, every single yarn isn't complex. Like I didn't do any major fiber management. I didn't do any major tons of stripping and pre-drafting and pre-attenuating and doing all the things. I just spun. So I thought what we would do is Tour de Fleece. So Tour de Fleece, there were 3 braids at the end that I started and I spun all the singles. These are them here, but I didn't get them plied. And so I did all of that plying during tour. Oh, this is all up in the corner. So I did all of that plying, during Tour de Fleece Femme. And then I also got 1 more braid spun and plied as well. So I plied 3 braids and then I got another braid spun. And there was one day when I was really feeling quite poorly because I had gotten another cold. And I was really feeling quite poorly and I didn't do any spinning whatsoever, but I did rewind all of my singles. So I sat quietly and I just rewound and rewound and rewound and rewound. And for Tour de Fleece Femme, I ended up being able to ply 4 braids. So I had done 6 during Tour de Fleece and then 4 during Tour de Fleece Femme. So really, really good. Way more than I thought. Way more than I thought I would be able to accomplish. So the first one that I thought I would share with you is the Hello Yarn Higgledy Piggledy. This was a Targhee Bamboo Tussa Silk blend, and I don't know what the percentages were because it wasn't written on the label of the Fiber Club bag. I think that knowing the percentages of stuff is a relatively new thing because when I was looking back through my old stash, nothing has percentages on it. So I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Is it just me? It's definitely not a thing that I have a bunch of percentages written on some of my stuff. So it was Targhee Bamboo Tussa Silk. I had sort of saved this in my stash because of the colors and loving them so much and not wanting to wreck them. So I was actually kind of bummed when I started spinning it that I hadn't just enjoyed it when I wanted to a few years ago, because honestly it was so easy to spin and it was really lovely. It spun like butter. I stripped it a few times. I pre-drafted a little bit and I just started spinning. This is a photo of it on my Dove. I spun this on my Dove. And this was April 2021 Fiber Club. It was called Higgledy Piggledy, which is just so cute. The only thing that I'll say about this spin was I think it's actually a little bit underplied. So when I finished it and it came off the wheel, it twisted once, and I really like my skeins when there's superwash, because it's superwash targi, and then of course it's got the bamboo and the silk in there. I really like them to twist at least twice, and I think it's just a little bit underspun. I think it just needs a little bit of a tighten up. So that is something that I may do, depending on what I decide to do with this yarn, is I might tighten it up. It's only a 2-ply. I wouldn't use this for socks, although I suspect that if this was back in 2017 or 2018 and I was spinning, I would totally have used this for socks, and I would have done a 3-ply, because that was when we were right in the middle of all of our sock spinning. Now, however, I think with the drape of the bamboo and the sheen of the silk and the strength of the silk, I could see this, if I tighten it up a little bit, it would be great as a supplemental warp for weaving. One of my goals this year for my Make 9 was to weave up some of the yarn in my stash as scarves and do some overshot and probably put them into the guild sale. That was something I was really hoping to get to this summer. And then I've been so sick, but that aside, it is still on my radar to do that. The second yarn that I finished was one that kind of everything went sideways. So this yarn was, let me just go back a bit to the fiber. So this was, oh my goodness gracious, come on, cooperate. This was the combo spin that I had planned a couple of shows ago, and there was this and the colorway Rogue, and then there was the green that was the grouse, just that green color that I'm pointing at right here. And the plan was to spin each to one bobbin, end to end, not do any fiber prep, and then I would just ply. The green grouse braid was not spinnable, so it has gone to braid heaven. And instead, because I'd already started this, it was actually already done when I started the rest of it. So I started, I decided just to ply this on its own. So this is it freshly off the wheel, and just remember this photo and remember what the yarn looks like, because if you look at this photo, the yarn is quite matte. So this was, let me remember what the combination was. So this is, the colorway is called Bouquet, and it's Silk Puff. So it's superwash merino, non-superwash merino, and silk, and it's 30, is it 40 40 20? I think it might be 30 30. No, it's 40 40 20. So 40% superwash, 40% non-superwash, 20% silk. So what I ended up doing with the bobbin, and I don't know if I have a photo of the bobbin here. I really wanted to show you guys how matte the yarn is. Like, there's no sheen on it, right? You can't see any sheen. So what happened was, I'm actually really bummed about it. What happened was I took the original bobbin, and I weigh all of my bobbins, so I know sort of roughly how much they weigh. So I weighed the empty bobbin, and then I started to wind off for 3 separate weaving bobbins of singles. So I had 3 separate weaving bobbins. I just kept winding off. You know, the colors were, if you remember from the original braid, the colors transitioned quite quickly. So like from the magenta to the orange to the green and back to the purple, it's a very quick, you know, transition. So I knew that if I wound off the 3 bobbins, even though I'd spun it end to end, that having the 3 weaving bobbins and plying them together, that there would be big chunks where the colors matched up, and there would also be chunks where the colors didn't match up. And because of the superwash merino and everything, I decided to do a relatively tight 3-ply. So what happened was, I washed the yarn, I put it in my regular Eucalyptus soak, you know, warm water, left it to soak. The silk being in there, I left it for longer than I normally would. and then I pulled it out. I just very gently, you know, wrang it dry. I don't twist the skeins, but I just sort of push them together and push out as much of the water as I possibly can. And then I throw them into a linen bag and I put them on the spin cycle of my washer. And when I was turning the dial to the spin cycle, I must not have turned it the one extra time to get it to the spin cycle, because it stopped on the previous cycle. And I didn't catch it until 3 minutes into the cycle, because I kind of looked down and I was like, why is there water? Because it's supposed to just drain and spin. And it was enough, just those 3 minutes of the 30-degree temperature water, because it wasn't even the hottest water. We have our washing machine set to 30 degrees rather than 40, because that's the warmest, and it's auto set to 30. And even on 30 degrees, it sueded the silk and it felted the merino, so it's lost its sheen and it's lost its matte, which is really heartbreaking. So I pulled it out right away. I had a look at it. I knew that it was probably damaged. And, you know, it's funny. When it happened, Mike was right there. He was reading his book and he was like, what happened? And I told him, and he was like, you know, he's like, you're sick. You're not feeling well. You've got a wicked headache. He's like, I'm not surprised you made a mistake. And I said to him, you know, it's funny you would say that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, and he's like, just have some compassion for yourself. It happens in all the yarns that I wash and all the yarns that I deal with on a weekly basis, you know, for the teaching content, for the stuff that I do for myself, all the weaving and fitting fabrics and whatnot. You know, I haven't had something like this happen ever, and this was the first time. And it's like, yeah, I'm kind of not surprised, you know, not feeling well. So we'll see what happens with this yarn. I was actually kind of tempted to knit socks with this yarn, because like, well, the yarn is basically felted. This silk is sueded. It actually might be quite good for quite hard wearing socks if I knit them tightly. Like, it actually might be kind of an amalgamation of like a lot of like good factors. And I don't love knitting socks anymore. You guys know that. I kind of OD'd on them a number of years ago, and I've never really gone back to knitting them. But I actually kind of was feeling excited about maybe doing a pair of socks with this yarn. So I'll report back, because I might actually go ahead and do that. I saw a couple of questions about this yarn. Yeah, Christine was about the grouse. It's so compacted. I couldn't spin it. It was from like 2014. It was deep stash. I'm sure it got damaged at some point. And I couldn't do anything with it. Carding it wouldn't have fixed it. It was time to go to braid heaven. Yeah, Eve, spin dryer. If only I had room. Amanda was saying that she has some mill ends that are probably superwash, and she's wondering if it's a bad idea to apply one single superwash and two singles non-superwash. To be honest, I actually I've never had a problem putting superwash and non-superwash together in the past. It's just that this was one of those scenarios where the water was just hot enough and there was probably just enough eucalyptus, because eucalyptus is a non-rinse soap. It's meant to be a very gentle wool finisher. And it probably was like just enough to damage it. But as long as you're really gentle with it and don't do what I did in the finishing, I actually think, Amanda, there's no really good reason not to combine them. You could always do a little sample, like ply a little do a little thing like this, you know, and do, this is about 15 yards. And it just gives you an idea of kind of what the yarn will look like. And you can finish it and be quite aggressive and see what happens, and see if it you know, if you like it. That's what I would do. Yeah, braid heaven. Yeah. And then the other one that I finished, and this is the one that I was actually kind of bummed that I didn't do the combo. This is, I don't know why all of my slideshows are starting at the end. Every single one today has started at the end. This was the bamboo, so the superwash merino. I have a lot of superwash in my old stash, so that was part of the reason for wanting to start to get through these braids, is, you know, if I can get them out of my stash and I can get them kind of, you know, into yarn, I have some options. I can always put some of them in the guild sale and move them along if I'm not going to work on them. My yarn stash is getting a little bit out of control. Not my commercial yarn stash, I don't have one of those, but my hand spun yarn stash is getting out of control. But this braid was the one that I was lamenting the last live stream about not having combined it with the Spunky Eclectic bamboo. So this was Superwash Merino Nylon Bamboo. The other one was Superwash. This was the Spunky Eclectic one. I'll just go to the main camera for just a sec so you can hear it. You can see it. Here, yarn. Can you imagine? This was the one that was the Merino Bamboo from Spunky Eclectic. I don't know what the percentages were. Once again, I don't know if that was just not a thing back then, probably. And this was the one that I was lamenting a couple of shows ago about not combining these two. They were in the same bin, and I think my plan had been to combine them, and I didn't. I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't combine them in the end. So if you look at this one, the Sweet Georgia one, this is from Fiber Club August 2017. This was one of the oldest braids of all of them that I spun, and it was called Moonshine. It was a colorway that was designed by Tabitha back when she still worked for Sweet Georgia. And the colorway, the original colorway you saw in that, from the braid, you saw it had all of that beautiful green and that beautiful kind of dark gray green. And I think that was where I saw it going really well with the Spunky Eclectic, because it had the gray brown and the green and some of the like kind of, you know, browny, orangey, yellowy kind of a color. But it's funny because once it was all spun, and it's not really visible in this shot, the yarn, it really does look like this, but it's the green is actually quite dark. It didn't lighten quite as much as I thought it would, even though there's a ton of white in the original yarn. But when you see the two side by side, the greens in the Sweet Georgia colorway and the Moonshine are really, really turquoise. Whereas this one is what I would call, in real life, I would say it's more of like a gray brown. They are quite different. And so I'm actually kind of glad. They're both 3-ply. And this one is really quite subdued and quite, like it's quite gray, but all of the white is basically disappeared. It's basically gone. Whereas in this one, there's actually quite a few places where you can really see the undyed fiber still. And it marled really quite effectively in many, many, many different places. Going back to our Heather's Marls and Tweeds content from the last 3 months, like this would have been a perfect yarn to look at because it's so marled in so many different places. And the dark green is marling with the lighter green is marling with the white, and you get this beautiful texture in here. But I think if I were to have combined both of them, first of all, I'm not sure how I would have combined them because I wanted a 3-ply. So maybe I would have done a 4-ply and 2 singles of each. That probably would have been the best. But I really love these two yarns on their own. So I'm actually kind of abandoning the idea of even trying to use them together. I'm leaning towards this one being socks. I'm kind of starting to dip my toes into maybe wanting to start knitting socks again a little bit. So I can't believe I just said that. I might have to take it back. But yeah, there's just a few yarns that I spun through Fleece where I was like, you know, be really nice socks. So, and I don't have really any hand spun socks anymore because they got eaten by all the moths. So it would be really nice to have a few pairs. So at least it's an option. But yeah, same yarn, different saturation, exactly. And I think with the Moonshine, this did have so much more white left undyed that you can really see how that affected the overall yarn. Whereas the Spunky Eclectic didn't have quite as much undyed left, and you can see the effect of that. I love them both. I really love the Spunky Eclectic one. I really, really like it. It came out really... This is probably one of my most favorite yarns that I spun through Fleece and Fleece Femme. But this one was really effective, but simpler. It wasn't as complex. The colors weren't as complex. It didn't have the same the same variety of color in the original braid. So you would expect a simpler yarn in the end, but still very effective, but just different finished results. And then, yeah, Colleen, I thought about that. Fingerless gloves. You know what the problem with fingerless gloves is for me personally? They don't use enough yarn. They're perfect for 50 grams, but I like to be able to use up as much of the yarn as possible. Yeah. The thing about knitting socks is if you just cast some on, you'll wake up from a nap and they'll be done. It's so true, Rebecca, especially when you have knit as many socks as we have. They really do go quickly. The more socks you knit, the faster they go. It really is true. They are good weighting knitting. And I don't know if you guys remember, but back in April of 2025, when I was going through my radiation treatments, I had my radiation socks. And I think that's kind of what left a mark on me and left me thinking about it over this past year, is because it was so nice to have a little project like that in my bag that I could pull out when I was waiting. Because there's a couple of days where they were running behind and I had to wait quite a long time. And then I've actually worn them a few times and really enjoyed having them again. So I think I was really, really upset. I don't know if this has happened to any of you guys, but I put all of that work in and I did all of those socks. Like I knit like 15 or 16 pairs of socks in one calendar year. And then to have them all eaten by moths, I think I was just so heartbroken. And that's not something you can control. Who would have thought that that particular piece of furniture had sort of, been colonized, like that there were, moth eggs in there, like, and they weren't clothes moths, so they didn't do massive damage. They were just the little pantry moths. So they're hard to find, they're hard to eradicate, and it's just heartbreaking. So I learned a lot. We've gotten rid of them, and since the house reno and since redoing everything, they seem to be gone. I found a couple when we first moved in, but I haven't found any since. But it was so heartbreaking, and I think that's really what it was. It's not the knitting of the socks that was the problem, it was what happened afterwards, and to lose all of those socks, that's what was so hard. So okay, and then I finished one more skein that I was going to share with you guys today. This braid, okay, so this braid, let me just go back. I have been saving this since like 2000 and I think I looked it up. It's like 2017, I think. And this is Shetland, and the colorway was called Equinox. I don't know if Into the World still has this colorway or not. It's really, really hard to order from American dyers right now, which is really too bad, because it's nice to have the variety, right? We've got great dyers up here in Canada. There's awesome dyers in Europe, and there's awesome dyers in the States. It'd be awesome. Like, I really hope that eventually we get back to the place where we can all, purchase from one another again, and that it's easier. But this colorway, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the purple, if it was the brown. I have no idea, but I just put it up on a pedestal and like was completely freaked out about spinning it. So and I don't know why. And Into the World, for those who aren't familiar with them, they sell their braids like this. So they fold them in 3 and they put them in kind of a long, narrow bag. And so this is kind of how they look. And I don't know what it was about it. Like, I have no idea. They're not really my colors. They're very different. Christine just said, these are very different colors for you. You're absolutely correct. I think it was the combination of being Shetland, which is one of my favorite fibers to spin. It was the color for some reason. I don't know what it was. Kath says she loves that one too. So what I ended up doing, and it was in the bin, so it had to get spun. So I started spinning it on my Daedalus, on my Dove, and I just spun it end to end. I didn't make any major decisions. I didn't do any major handling of the colors. I just spun it end to end, with the decision that it would like come what may. And what I ended up doing in the end, that day that I was really quite unwell and just only rewound singles, I did the same thing as I did for the bouquet colorway from Sweet Georgia. I weighed the bobbin and I wound off 2 weaving bobbins, and I just split it right in half. and I applied. So I took the colorway. You can really see here where sort of halfway would kind of possibly be. And then you know, I wound it off and plied. So it ended up being a 2-ply. The colors do marl in quite a number of places. So you can really see it here in this photo where the darker browny gray black, it's not really a true black, it's kind of more of like a gray, marled against the lighter greeny, it's not really green, it's more of like a browny yellow. When it was actually being plied and it was actually going onto my wheel, I was feeling a bit disappointed about it, but I love how this yarn came out. I did do it as a 2-ply for a reason. I am hoping to use this as supplemental warp for scarves, and I'm going to put this one with the Higgledy Piggledy and a couple of other braids from Deep Stash that'll be used for overshot scarves in the future, hopefully later this year. That's the plan. Once the kids go back to school and our life is kind of back to normal in terms of like having a routine and getting things done and so on and so forth. So this came out surprisingly well. And I'm really, you know, the other piece of it too was I'd had it for so long. I had sort of, you know, almost was getting to the point of where it didn't matter how it was fun. I was dreading it because I wanted it to turn out so badly, to turn out well. And I think there just comes a point where you just have to spin it. You just have to get it on the wheel. These colors are not unique. They can be recreated. You can contact the dyer and ask them if they can do it again in another, you know, either on another base or, you know, as similar as possible. They might even have other colorways that are similar, that you can try it again if you don't love it. You know, the reality is a lot of these braids, you can't screw them up. And we went through the whole, you know, back in 2023, we did the whole trying to make mud in February of that year. So we had started the year of color in January. And in January, we did the whole, you know, color theory, intro to color theory. How do we, you know, what's a color wheel, all that kind of stuff. And then in February, we did sort of a call to the community of like, let's try to make mud. We talk about making mud all the time. Let's see if we can actually do it. Nobody was able to do it. Nobody was able to actually make mud. And there are definitely times when we desaturate colors and we combine things in the plied yarns that's desaturated, but nobody was actually able to make anything that was ugly. Because when we use the word mud and we say make mud, what the implication is that we're making something ugly, that we're taking something really beautiful like that braid and we're turning it into something ugly. And I think that was a really enlightening moment for me, was like, we really can't, you know, it's not as easy as we think it is to make something ugly from starting with something beautiful. If it changes and it morphs into something new and the colors maybe interact differently, but it's not ugly. And so this was just further reinforced that for me. So very, very happy with how this came out. And, you know, from that to that, I'm pretty happy. So that is all of my spinning. That is everything. I think I have shared everything that I spun in Tour de Fleece with you guys to date. I do have the last spindling project. I haven't made any progress on it. I'm not even going to do the spindling thingy for you, Rebecca, for the timestamps. I'm just gonna show you guys the little bit that I have left. So this is the Hanui. This is the Harlequin blend from Bramble Ridge. It is Hanui Silk 70/30. It's very slippery. For those who are looking at this blend, it is very slippery, just so that you know. High sheen, very high sheen. This is 1/8 of the braid that's left. And I just have this final spindle to finish off, and then I'll be able to apply. I didn't get it finished during Tour de Fleece. Part of that is because I found the Spinning Socks 6-pack and wanted to work on that. And I thought that I would work on it a little bit over the weekend, but I didn't, and I didn't work on this. I think I got one little bit of fiber spun on it, and that was it. That was all I got done. So that's okay though. I'm hoping that I'll get that done in the next couple weeks, but I never know with spindling how much I'm going to get done and when I'm going to find the time to work on my spindling. I was so good about it during the World Cup, and I'm kind of wishing that we had another World Cup right now that I could work on it. But that's sort of one of those things that I think I just have to like carve out the time and really make it a priority, and it's just not been a priority. So that's okay. That's something that I can work on. All right. So yeah, that's all the Tour de Fleece. That's it. I did a lot. I spun, like I said, 10 or 11 braids, 10 and a half, 10 and 7/8 of braids out of my stash. I still have one just behind me here on my dove that I'm plying out of that bin. I should show you guys actually what I do have left. Where is it? Okay, so this is the bin. This is the remainder of the bin. So I had pulled the bin out at the beginning of Tour de Fleece. If anybody is thinking about stash management and how to like work through old stash and kind of, you know, make a concerted effort to get through some of it, you know, it's maybe been sitting around for a while, you don't make it a priority, blah, blah. I really highly recommend making a bin or a trunk like what Dion does, to give yourself the, and sort of loosely setting the goal of this is what I'm going to work from. These are the fibers that I'm going to work from, and these are the fibers I'm going to work through. And honestly, that has been really motivational for me, because once you get started on it and you start to see progress, you want to see the bin emptied. It's a real, like, it's gamification, right? And it really has helped me stay motivated to keep going, to keep spinning through the bin. So I'm actually down to this old braid of Firestar. It's called Fire Starter. It's an old braid of Sweet Georgia, and it's being plied on my dove right now. I started it before the weekend and figured actually I would finish it before today, but I just didn't. So I have this braid of Rogue that was part of the combo spin that didn't happen, left to do. And I have this braid of, it's another Panda blend. It's the same as these two. It's the merino, bamboo, and then also the nylon added. And this is the colorway Bourbon. And this is probably, if the Into the World Shetland braid was coveted, this is even more coveted. So I really don't want to spin this. And I really want to get it out of stash. I love that colorway. And then the last one is my last Into the World. It's Superwash Targhee. It was called Moscow Mule. It's hard to say. And it's these gorgeous blues and greens. And this is going to be a 3-ply. And I'll just spin it. I'll divide it equally into 3 piles and spin and ply. So it's just those 3. That's it. That's the bin. And the bin will be done. So there was, I guess in the end, there was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 braids in that bin. One of them had to go to braid heaven, and the other 3 are needing to be done. That's pretty good. 15 braids out of my stash. If I can get these 3 done by the end of the year, that's pretty great. That's pretty awesome. So, all right, let's move on. Yeah, you know, Colleen, I actually was thinking about that with the Bourbon. She says perhaps you could chain ply those hard to spin braids so you can keep the colors intact. With the Bourbon, this was a Fiber Club braid, and then I was able to get another one. Or no, yeah, it was a Fiber Club braid, and then they released it. It was so popular that they actually released it. I have always kind of thought that I would spin this end to end, just start at one end and just spin all the way through. No stripping, no prep, no nothing, just spin one end to the other and then chain ply it. And you'd end up with these really long lengths of the gold and the blue and the light blue. And they actually discontinued this colorway almost immediately after they released it, because the dark blue in there, that color in there, this color here, they couldn't make it color fast. It just, no matter what they did, it would bleed. And so because I know that, and because I have that in the back of my mind, and the other braid that I already spun of the same colorway, same thing, the blue bled, I also sort of thought, because I know that it will bleed, if I chain ply it, at least the dark blue is all together. So that was sort of my thought. I just love this colorway so much. This dark tealy blue and the gold, I don't necessarily like them together. I like that they're separated in the braid and that there's the dark brown in between. I've also thought about stripping this one down and stripping it and stripping it and stripping it and stripping it so that you've got 3 equal piles of very small nests, and then the whole thing would just be marled. And you just combine all the colors and come what may, because I love that too. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do half and half actually, and then do, you know how that phenomenon a few years ago with the striping socks, one of the colorway, you split the colorway in half and you stripe them so that you've got one chain plied and one traditional 3-ply, and you stripe them. I actually might do that. This is why it's good to talk things through. Okay, let's move on, because otherwise we're gonna be here all day. Okay, so we, spearheaded by Dion, we have a spackle going on in the community right now. And for those of you who are new and are just checking us out for the first time, welcome, welcome. I should have done all of this at the beginning, but I was all excited to tell you about Fibrations. Dion, so if you're new here and you're kind of getting a lay of the land and you're trying to figure out all the things and you're just sort of trying to learn about all the stuff, there is a start here guide just down below, and it has it links you to a blog post on Patreon that has all of the information about kind of where people usually start, what to expect, where to find things, and it just kind of gets you anchored. And of course, those of you who are already part of the community, you don't have to do anything. But last show, during the community participation, which was part of the wool circle. So anybody who's a member of the wool and spinning community, even if you're not a part of the wool circle, you have access to last week's show. I released it to everyone in the community. So if you're on Patreon, you have access to that show. We talked about Suzanne's recent finished object out of her hand spun. That was the All Seasons vest by Noriko. Oh, what's her last name? I can never remember. Noriko, have it right here. This is the pattern. I don't normally print out patterns, but I decided to print this one out. This is the All Seasons vest. I hope it's not backwards for you guys. By Noriko Ichikawa. And she is, at least on my radar, becoming a more and more well-known designer, has released some really, really neat designs. And I have been working with 2 yarns from my friend Megan at Bramble Ridge over the course of this summer. One of them is, and they're both the same base, but different weights. So one is a fingering weight, which is this, what I'm wearing. We'll talk about this in a minute. This was the fingering weight wool. She calls it the wool linen, 70-40 wool flax, and this is it knit up just in stockinette. And then I was really taken with it, and I was really enjoying working on it. We were talking about it this morning in Spin Group actually. Part of the reason why I was really curious about this yarn, I wanted to make a couple of things out of it, both in the fingering and the DK base, was to sort of get a sense of what the 70-30 percentage was like and build off of that for some future blends that I've been planning for some clothing, for some ideas that I have. And then this is the DK, and this is a one-of-a-kind colorway. The dye wasn't quite what she was going for the wheat colorway, so this is available slightly darker, a little bit more yellow, and it's wheat. But this particular yarn, there was only 2 skeins, and it was a one-of-a-kind. So I was playing around with the gauge of this, and then last episode Suzanne had posted her All Seasons vest. What came out of that was because there was a couple of people in Tour de Fleece that spun yarn where I was just sort of, you know, stream of consciousness while we were podcasting. I said, oh my goodness, this would be great yarn for the All Seasons vest, and look at what Suzanne just did. So Dion grabbed the bull by the horns and started a spackle. So we had a cast on Monday this past week, so it was yesterday. She did a cast on, and it'll run until October. Was it October 17th, Dion? Is my memory serving? Is that correct? Let me just double check. 17th. 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 17th October 5th, perfect. October 5th, and we're gonna knit this vest together. And if you guys don't want to knit the all seasons vest, like, you can pick another pattern. It's just kind of a vest spackle. And most of us are probably gonna do the all seasons vest. So I had already started mine, but I'm gonna do another one out of hand spun. So this one is my, like, I had already started it and was already making it vest. And then I'll jump in with the spackle when I've finished this particular version of mine. So this is, I was really hoping I would have the neckband done by today, but I didn't get any knitting done on the weekend, so I don't. So this is mine. It's out of, like I said, the Bramble Ridge 70/30 wool flax. And then you've got this beautiful line of decreases here on your V-neck. To make the V-neck. So I'm actually almost ready to do the cast off. I think the pattern calls for a regular bind off. I'm going to do a tubular cast off because it's 1x1 ribbing and it's my favorite. And then I'm already finished quite a few inches on the body actually, but I had finished that skein of yarn. So I decided to go back and do the armhole ribbing and the neckline ribbing, and then I'll just keep knitting until the body, until I run out of yarn. So when I went to attach the new ball, I just did the ribbings first. So that is it. The one thing that I don't love, and I'm holding it quite close to the camera so you guys will be able to see, the V-neck increases are done with a knit front back. And sorry, I'm worried my needles are going to pop out of my ribbing because they're short. I don't love that. I prefer make one left, make one right. So when I do this again, that's what I'll do. I don't love the make one right, the knit front back. It's not my favorite. So when I do this again, I'll do the make one left, make one right, and make sure that they're mirrored increases on the two sides. I tried this on Diana, our lovely model that's been with us for years and years. I feel like she's my co-host. I tried it on her and it's perfect. I knit one size bigger because I wanted it to have a lot of ease based on my learning from the Oolong Tee, which we'll talk about in a second. So that is my progress on the all seasons vest, and I hope that you guys are going to jump in with us. If you haven't finished spinning for it yet, excuse me, or you don't have yarn for it yet, don't worry. You've got until October. So yes, we've done a couple of, cast-ons and stuff already, but there's no pressure to do this 5 minutes ago. You've got lots and lots of time. So that is my all season. And I think the sizes were pretty, there was quite a number of sizes. I think I ended up choosing, because I wanted the ease, I ended up choosing size 2 for the 38-inch bust. 38.5. My bust is about 34. But I did the same thing with my Oolong, I'll talk about in a minute, and that worked out really, really well. So I did that again, knowing that I had enough yarn. So if anybody's wondering about sizing and what to do and whatnot, I had really good results with my Oolong by sizing up. And I could have done size 1, the 37, but I was already playing with gauge, which I'll talk about next show. Because I'm not sure how it's gonna turn out. That might have been the wrong decision, but I did have to play with gauge and redo all of my math because the pattern calls for, let's talk about the pattern for just a moment. The pattern calls for a gauge of 21 stitches over 4 inches or 10 centimeters and a DK weight yarn, but this yarn was quite a bit heavier and my gauge was 17 stitches over 4 inches. So I ended up doing all of the math and using my numbers for size 2. So instead of casting on, 86 stitches, I cast on 69. And so on. And then I had to rework the short rows, the number of rows for my short rows and all that kind of stuff. I think because I've knit so much over the years, and I've done this so much over the years, and I've helped others as well, it's so natural to me to change the gauge and whatnot. So as soon as we got back from Jasper, I had started knitting the body of it. I threw it on Diana immediately just to check the sizing and whatnot, and so far so good. So I'm hoping that my hand spun version of it I'm not exactly sure what yarn I'm going to use yet, but I have an idea. I'm hoping that I don't have to do all that math and that I can get gauge, and I can enjoy the pattern and just enjoy it. That's my plan. So I've started, okay, so Christine said, I've started with size 3 for the shoulders, but we'll probably increase up the stitch count for the size 4 at the underarm. And her gauge is off a bit as well. Oh, that's very smart. See, I love doing that where you can combine all of the different sizes. That's really, really important. Yes, Amanda, I'm in the same boat. She said time. The kids still have 4 weeks of vacation left. We still have 3. And I'm like, can you please go back to school? I haven't had a summer. I want a summer, but I need y'all to go back to school so I can get things done. I just, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I mailed off a huge number of samples for a weft article that's coming up in the Overshot issue, magazine issue. And that was a huge weight off because those samples have been hanging over me all summer, and there were so many of them. And the article is written. I just have to go over it one more time and then submit it. And that actually, now that that's done because of being sick, I don't mean to be like, you know, just constantly harping on that, but it really has affected this summer and how it's gone. Now that that's kind of starting to be put to get behind me, now I feel like I can start to think about like other things. But that was a big undertaking, doing the weaving for that. And yeah, it's just, so our summer this year has been like 10 weeks. It's too long. I agree, Amanda, the kids they're not bored. And actually I don't mind when the kids are bored. But I think they're ready, they're ready for that structure and that time to be back. And I'm ready for the structure and, you know, having my days and being able to work on stuff that I have going on in the background for you guys. So yeah, I think we're all kind of ready. All right, let's talk about finished objects, and we'll talk about this because I haven't shared the oolong at all, like even when I was still working on it because I was away. So let's do that next. Okay, I am so excited to share this with you. So I started this back quite a long time ago. I don't actually know exactly when, but this is the Oolong tank. There's different versions of this sweater. So if you're looking at it and you're either on Amie's website or on Ravelry, wherever you buy your patterns, Payhip, whatever you choose to do, there's multiple different versions that she's released. So there's the tank, the tee, people have added sleeves, like there's all different ones. And actually I don't know if I didn't leave the original photo for you guys. That's okay. You can see it in these photos and I'll stand up in a minute and show you guys the tee. So it's this really, really beautiful knit and this is usually not my style at all, but I saw this, me and Rebecca saw this on someone at Knit City Calgary back in 2024. I can't believe it was 2 years ago. And she was similar coloring to me, and she was wearing hers was like in a forest green more, but she had knit it one size bigger because I kind of quizzed her on it a little bit. But it's bottom up. You start with your twisted ribbing at the bottom, and she had actually done a split hem. So I had actually thought about doing the same thing, but because I had to cast this on a couple of times because of mistakes that I made, not in the pattern, it was me, it was the user error. I ended up in the end just not doing the split hem. But if I were to do this again, I would add the split hem because I do like to tuck my stuff in. And this is I did lengthen it. So in the pattern, I think it ends up being about, I've messed up all the pattern pages. They're all in the wrong order. It's meant to be a little bit cropped. So I think the final length of the body is meant to be like, let me see, 7 rounds, continue shaping, body shaping is complete, bust darts. Yeah, like it's not very long. What is really cool about the pattern though is as you're working up the body, so I didn't pay attention to the pattern once I got past the shaping. I just kept going and lengthened it because I always need a little bit longer, even if I wear something a bit cropped. But as you're working your way up, Depending on your size and which size you want to make, there's bust darts. So you can add bust darts, and the different sizes add different lengths. So let's say you're a size 4, it'll add 4 inches to the overall length of the sweater, but it gives you that ease through the bust that people might need for that size. And then if you're a size 1, it adds an inch, and so on and so forth. So I really liked that about this pattern, and I'm seeing it more and more where people are adding in shaping for the bust, which I think is really wonderful. And if it's tech edited and the numbers are correct, and it you know, it takes a 2-dimensional piece of fabric and makes it 3-dimensional by adding those contours and adding that shaping. And if it fits somebody just that little bit better, it is so worth it to do those extra short rows and whatnot. So it's knit bottom up, and the lace pattern is just 2 panels of the lace, and that's where I messed up the first time around. I thought the panel was just the one, and then that it split. But no, it's 2 panels all the way up, and then they veer off for the V-neck. So that was completely misread the pattern, user error, blah, blah, blah. And I was able to finish this on the drive to Jasper and the drive back from Jasper. And even with a couple of modifications that I ended up going back and ripping out, I still had it finished. So this is sort of a close-up of the lace, and why I wanted to show you this photo is if you look in between the 2 lace panels, there's about three purl stitches. If I were to do this again, I would actually only do 1 purl stitch in between. I don't love having that big panel of purl stitches in between the lace panels. I think I would either do purl, knit, purl, or just 1 purl stitch personally. I really like the aesthetic of the lace panels a little bit closer together. It's just me. But the 2 lace panels with really very little blocking when I finish this off, because this is the wool flax. So I wanted to see how the finished fabric came out after washing and blocking and whatnot. I didn't have to pin it. I didn't have to like do all the things. It just laid out beautifully, and the lace just completely flattened out and opened up on its own without me having to like pull on it or do anything. And that was really nice, because I wasn't totally sure with the V-neck and everything and the little bit of short row shaping and whatnot, how that was going to work out on the blocking mats. But it was brilliant. The lace just completely relaxed into place. The yarn was a really good choice. That worked really, really well. And this is a sort of more a photo of like the panel, so you guys could really get a sense. And it's not so open that you can see through it really easily. It's not like that you need to wear a bunch of stuff underneath. Something like a nude bra or a bralette or a camisole or a tank that's your skin color is perfect for those who are, you know, a little bit. I'm very aware of that kind of stuff. I maybe have a higher, you know, threshold of sort of what I'm comfortable with than someone else might. But for me, it wasn't so open that I felt self-conscious wearing it. And then this is a close-up of the neck. So what I had done originally when I did the neckline is it's actually an I-cord that goes around. And at first, when I first saw that, because I'd done the twisted rib for the shoulders, and then I got to the I-cord, and I was like, really? It's an I-cord? I don't love I-cord. Full transparency, it's not my favorite. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I just get annoyed with. I don't know why. So what I tried to do was pick up and leave a stitch at the edge around the front on the 2 V's. I tried to pick up and do twisted rib instead. And if I were to knit this again, I would actually add a stitch on either side so that I could do that. But because there wasn't 2 stitches, there was only 1, it didn't work. So I ended up having to pull it out and wasn't able to do that after all. And it didn't look, because there wasn't the stitches there on the sides to give you that really nice picked up edge, it didn't work at all, like not even a little bit. I do have a photo of that. If you guys want to see it, I can post it in the Slack channel later under #podcast chat. But I ended up ripping it all out, and I tried it again. It still didn't work. By then, we've been driving for like 4 hours. This was on the way home. It was the last thing to do on it. And I was like, okay, fine. You win, Amie. I'm going to do the I-cord. And you know, there's a reason why there's an I-cord on this pattern. It works beautifully. Like, she's the designer, not me. She knows, not me. I kind of laughed at myself a little bit. So I ended up doing the I-cord after all. And that, it finishes it beautifully. Like, it really finishes the front, and it gives the neckline, because of the lace down, like the lace goes up right next to the edge, right? And then you've got one edge stitch, and that's where you pick up the I-cord. It stabilizes the edge. So because you don't have half an inch or an inch of twisted rib, the I-cord really helps to stabilize that edge, and it keeps the neck from getting really stretched out and really misshapen from the lace, because the I-cord can be really tight. So she actually says right in the pattern to ensure that you bind off your I-cord incredibly loosely. So I knit this on, I got gauge for the pattern, which is really unusual for me. But I have to admit, it was really nice. I never get gauge, and to get gauge was like, this is amazing. I don't have to modify anything. So I knit this on 3.25 millimeter needles for the body. The ribbing was done on okay, hang on. The body was knit on 3.25 millimeter needles. The ribbing, all of the twisted ribbing, I did on 2.75 millimeter needles. So that is US, I don't even know. Whatever the US equivalent is, if somebody knows, 3.25 and 2.75. But the I-cord bind off, I had my Chow Goose set with me. I never leave home without my Chow Goose when we're traveling, or when I'm gonna be gone all day. I always take my Chow Goose just in case. You never know. I bound it off. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, Rebecca. I did it on 4 millimeter. US size 6, and I'm so glad that I did, because it sits properly. It sits exactly how it's supposed to sit, and just having that added needle size just allowed it to lay properly. And it felt loose when I was doing it, for sure, but when you wash it and lay it, blocked it and everything, it was perfect. So definitely go up a needle size, like quite a few needle sizes, to do the I-cord if anybody makes this. So yeah, the 2.75 millimeter is a US size 2, and the 3.25 millimeter that was the body of the sweater was US 2.5. Thank you. It does look so professional, the I-cord. You're right, Colleen. It really does. It really finishes it. And I think the ribbing, the twisted rib around the neckline would have been nice too. I think if I had done the twisted rib, like if I were to make this again, I think I would lengthen the V. I think I would make it a little bit deeper. I'd make the straps up here. I wasn't sure how deep I wanted the V, so I didn't knit quite as long. Like the yoke depth was a little bit shorter than what's called for in the 38-inch bust size. I did it more like what I would do if I was knitting a 36. But I think if I was adding that ribbing, I would go with the actual what's called for in the pattern for the sizing, if that makes sense. Because it would have given you that little bit more depth, and then you would have had the room in the V for the ribbing, if that makes sense. So this is what it looks like on. I am so pleased. It's loose. It's just lovely. I really like it. It sits nicely. It's comfortable. The toe flax is a little tiny bit prickly. Colleen and Glenda and Dion said to me this morning that I might need a camisole underneath. I think they're right. I probably will, unless it kind of continues to soften with time. I don't have to pull at it. I don't have to like tug at it. It just sits really nicely. And the back is very simple. It's just plain. And it's all of that, and that's the close-up of the I-cord. Just really simple, really nice. And you can see that it's not see-through or unpleasant or anything. And if I want to, I can tuck it in. But that's what I mean about it being a little bit longer. If it had been a little bit longer, I often will tuck my stuff in like that. So I am really happy with this. I think Rebecca asked, you don't like what it is, or you didn't like making it? That's a really good question. I love how it turned out. I love the results. I should have trusted the pattern a bit more than I did, because I, was making changes that probably were unnecessary and overcomplicating it. I actually did really enjoy making it in the end. It felt a bit fiddly when I was halfway through the body, just all the lace and everything, but actually the lace pattern was really easy to memorize. And so by the time I got through the third or fourth repeat, I actually knew what was coming. So it sped up quite a bit, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I did end up really enjoying, you're doing decreases on the armhole side and the V-neck side at the same time when you're working the yoke. And I was a bit worried it was going to feel a bit fiddly, but it was fine. And I ended up really enjoying them. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed making it. It's something I haven't been super excited about some of the stuff that I've made over the last couple of years and finished. Like it's been fine. But this felt like a real win, if that makes sense. Yeah, I do match my room. I know, I was like looking at it and I was like, who would have thought? It's almost like when you knit or weave stuff or whatever, or make clothing that's the same color as your hair, or it's the same color as your skin tone, and then everything's like matching. I did think that. This color seems to be coming up in my life over and over and over again. What else? There were some other questions. Let me just catch up a little bit with chat because I've been talking a lot. It looks like it was a 4-ply. I took it upstairs to store it. Because like I said, I didn't tell you guys. I told Glenda and Colleen, I had about half of the second skein left, which I was actually really bummed about because I was hoping to use up a bit more yarn than that. I don't love it when I have that much left over. I think the fingering, I think, is a 4-ply and the DK is a 3-ply. The DK is definitely a 3-ply because I just checked it. But I think the fingering was a 4-ply. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's right. I don't have the ball band down here anymore. Oh, maybe I do. No, that's a different ball band. I have all the ball bands for all the yarns, and it's like, I don't even know what's what. I feel like I've been like making a lot recently. Like there's been a lot of stuff. Like I've made a lot. But I think it's because of getting through all of that spinning for Tour de Fleece. Okay, hang on. Here's a bunch of ball bands here. Scruff. That was from Scruff Spinning, the Scruff colorway. Anyways, I think it's a 4-ply. I think it's a 4-ply. All right. The show is getting very, very long. So I'm sorry, you guys. I know some of you are going to hate me for this. We're going to save this for next show because it's going to take me a long time to explain it and to talk about it. And there's going to be questions because of the weaving that went into it and weaving with sales and whatnot. So I'm sorry. But otherwise, we're not going to get to community participation. And I really want to do a wrap up for Tour de Fleece Femme. So I hope that you guys can forgive me because otherwise I'm going to lose my voice and the show is going to be like 2 hours and that's just getting too long. So I'm sorry. Deidre says she loves the color of this. Thank you. And yeah, the flax will soften with washing. That's so true, Colleen. And I think the prickle factor will go down because it's only been washed once so far. And because it's a tank and it's right against my arm, it'll have to be washed for sure. I'll let you know as well how the yarn withstands, like how it stands up. We'll definitely do that. All right, let's get into Tour de Fleece Femme and community participation. Okay, so yeah, what I'll do for the next episode is we'll start with spin to weave, which I know is really unusual. We usually do like yarn and spinning and stuff, but we'll start with spin to weave next time. Okie dokie. No, I didn't do that actually, Eve. I didn't roll it with a rolling pin or do a beating of the linen of the flax. It's not pure flax, and I didn't want to ruin the wool. And it's toe flax. It's not line flax. So I treat, and it's 70-30. So because it's majority wool, I treated it like wool. That's a really good question actually, because I didn't say anything. All right. Community patient, Tour de Fleece home. Oh, did I not change this? Yeah, I didn't change this to Tour de Fleece Femme. Oh, my keyboard's turned off. Hang on, you guys. Let me fix it. This is gonna bug me. This kind of stuff bugs me. Okay. There we go. So Tour de Fleece Femme, was from August 1st till August 9th. I'm not going to update the date and stuff underneath for Tour de Fleece Home. I should have. I didn't realize that I hadn't updated this slide. I'm really sorry, you guys. But this is all of the spinning that you guys did from August 1st through to August 9th. And then there's some at the end of people posting their finished yarns and what their total haul was for the entire tour. So this is from Laura. She did some spindle spinning during her sailing, her most recent sailing. Aren't those little turtles just the cutest things you've ever seen? Aren't they lovely? And then she also started a braid of Bramble Ridge in Pool Party, which is just the most fun, bright colors. And she was saying as well that they got some warm enough weather for swimming because it was only 8 degrees at one point on their trip, which 8 degrees Celsius when you're out on the water, that is cold. That is cold. More from Laura, all of her finished spins. Her total meterage is about 5,234 meters, which is incredible. And look at this beautiful color over here. Isn't that lovely? Just love that. From Doreen, she's somebody that I know that lives locally to me up on the Sunshine Coast. She's spinning on her Hansen using her woolly winder. This is some plying that she was doing. And then she also did some spindling through the year, and she shared her progress on the Ravelry group. This is more from Doreen, all of her finished BFL, 2 skeins superwash merino with a superwash merino nylon. I think she had done a big combo spin kind of thing, and then a small spindle of her Shetland that you saw in the previous slide. This is from Kathy. She's working on some singles on her 3D printed Turkish spindle, which was lovely. She showed a couple of different updates, but this photo really showed what she was doing, so I included that one. So pretty. Also from Laura, she finished, this was kind of interesting because she did a blend of silk, linen silk and a bit of Ramie that she had prepped herself. And she got this plying done in Tour de Fleece Femme, but because she had spun them differently, she ended up with sort of slightly different size singles. And she was sort of reflecting on that, and her yarns were a little tiny bit different. Because she had started spinning some of them earlier. And I think all of us have been there, and all of us have experienced that at different times. But honestly, the yarn is just beautiful. When I saw this photo, I actually thought it was Dion's because of the color. Also from Laura, she finished up 400 grams, is about 800 meters of a 2-ply Corriedale. Just beautiful colors. Really, really lovely. And this was from Christine. She made lots and lots of progress. Christine, I can't believe how much you did during the 2 tours. What an amazing amount of work. So these are all of her spindles that she's working on, and she had some wheel spinning going as well. This is from Eveline. These are the finished Romney bobbins that I was saying in the last show that she should do the all seasons vest with. I don't know what she ended up deciding to do. I'm not even sure if she's got it plied yet, because at that point she hadn't plied it yet. She was waffling between a 2-ply and a 3-ply, but what gorgeous colors, hey? Really, really pretty. And you can see that how fine the singles are. Really lovely spinning there, Eveline. This from Rebecca. She was they were having a rest day before they headed down to Mexico for her brother's wedding. And this was some spindling that she was doing on her Turkish spindles. And now she started another spindling project today, because she was mentioning it earlier in the chat. Totally, Christine. She said in Rebecca's terminology, I chunked the tours. That's an inside joke from the Wool Circle. Rebecca's always chunking things. This is from Colleen, some beautiful greens. Oh my goodness, what gorgeous greens. This color that I'm wearing and the color in the photo here, this has kind of been like a theme recently. Dion's all seasons vest that she's been swatching for, Colleen's all seasons vest, and I think there was someone else. We're all working in this color. What an incredible amount of yarn, Corolla. Beautiful. End of the tours for me. She did spin between the time of Tour de Fleece and Tour de Fleece Femme also. There's home processed carded gray Romney in here in 3 shades. And then that came out to a total of 2,700 meters. 3-ply woolen, approximately DK. And then she has some dyed John Arbin Devonia snack spins in there for a total of 190 meters. 2-ply worsted, approximately sport weight. And then she did some, is it Nutidin Stanny in a mauve-ish color? That's this yarn over here. So pretty, Corolla. Oh my gosh. For a total of 1,148 meters, 2-ply woolen. Gorgeous. Now you have to do all the knitting. All the knitting. Maybe you'll join in with the all seasons vest with us. This is from Pauline. All of her textile is spun. So this was the spin that she was working on. I shared last show on last week's Wool Circle, the baby textile that she was spindling when they were camping. And then this is Glenda's haul from the tours. 1,400 yards of alpaca Corriedale. That's the browns here. That were plied, and then most of the singles she had spun before the tour, and then 500 grams of Polworth singles. So that's all this down here. So I actually have this same colorway. I don't have 500 grams, I have 250, but in the same colorway from our friend Carrie of Chaotic Fibers, and it's just a beautiful colorway. And then she did some spindle spinning as well, which is beautiful. This is from Rebecca, looking all chill and relaxed on vacation. Today is her brother's wedding, so that's been all of our spoons. Thankful that we got down to be here. It's been quite a journey, this Tour de Fleece, and I'm so glad that I got to share it with you. Amazing. Yes, I'm glad that you guys shared it with us as well, because you guys did a lot of posting through the tour, and I really appreciated it. This is from Christina. I did almost no spinning this year for Tour de Fleece, except for to supply myself with enough yarn to sample a vintagey mitered squares baby blanket. I did 25 samples before deciding on these 7. And then the sample skein is a 3-ply Hanui that I think will be just right for the project. Isn't that the most gorgeous yarn you've ever seen in your entire life? I just love that. And the photo is just on point. You nailed it, Christina. This is from Dion, all of her spinning for Tour de Fleece and Tour de Fleece Femme. So she spun the rest of the Shetland, more of her green teal Polworth, her CYM blend, which is this over here, that was on her Turkish spindles. I was absolutely shocked at how much I got done. Yes, yes, Dion, you did a ton. So the teal green is 626 yards of DK. The Shetland is 430 yards of DK, and skein 2 is 612 yards, this big fatty right here. And then the CMY with white is 168, and that's part of a bigger spin that she's been working on as part of a triadic color study from that was sort of a hangover project that she wanted to do from Year of Color and my capstone and stuff, which is just awesome. I love it. This is more from Christine, filling up that bobbin, more on her spindles. And this is from Colleen. This is her final yarn photo for Tour de Fleece and Tour de Fleece Femme. She did an entire color wheel. Very happy, she says. That is beautiful. I love this red. Isn't that like just so red? It's like red. So cool. And from Annie, what a gorgeous shawl, Annie. You did just such a lovely job. Her Tour de Fleece spins weren't very plentiful, nor were they exciting. I called them two fleece 3 ways. One was Cori alpaca, one was Cori Corey, Jacob, and Peduncle, and the third was Jacob Peduncle. Isn't that so fun? She did like all these like, you know, changed one thing kind of thing. And then she also shared a photo of her finished shawl, which was from another project that she had spun for. This is all hand spun. I thought this was just beautiful. So I want to share that with you guys. And then Florence has been busy continuing to work away on her 52 weeks of using what I have. This is something that she's been working on in the Ravelry group. For those who haven't been following along, anybody can jump in at any time, but this was a year-long that she sort of set for herself. And so she finished up a pair of socks for Ronan, which I think is one of her grandsons. And then she also finished off this gorgeous sweater. Oh my goodness, I saw this and I was like, I want to make that. This yarn purchase was a trial because she didn't see it in real life. It was a merino silk DK with a great hand, but it was a bit chunkier than her personal preference. And then she ended up knitting it up into this to sort of, you know, just play with the yarn and see what she thought. I don't know what the pattern is. I don't think she posted it, but what a gorgeous sweater. Florence, I hope you get a ton of wear out of this. Unless one of her daughters steals it. I could totally see that happening. Oh, bye Dagmar, good to see you. And then she finished up some socks for, I think this is her son-in-law. I could be wrong. The request that he put in for her socks didn't match what she'd taken. So she truly used up what she has because it was all she had access to. Isn't that fun? I love the idea of like giving yourself a challenge of like, this is what I have to make something. What am I going to do? You know? And then spindle spun season is still alive and well and going. Everybody has been spindling up a storm this summer. I'm not sure if people are just looking for something simple, something that we're all sort of just really embracing and really enjoying. I feel like there's been even more spindles shared in the community this summer than normal. People, you know, where it's winter, in the Southern Hemisphere, they've been working on spindles. Like it just feels very spindle heavy this year. This is from Rebecca. Of course, she's been doing a ton of spindling. Her Schneider Turkish spindles. And this was from when they were up north before they left on their trip back in July. This is some spindling from Suzanne. She also has a Turkish spindling project that she's been working on. And then this is from Flavia. Aren't these fun? These are so cool. So you just move this whirl as you work. And this is for her Nightingale sweater. Beautiful color. Oh my goodness. This is from Susan, more of her beautiful photos on her table that I want. This is cop 4 out of 6 done. So this is, she's got 2 more to do in this gradient. Isn't that fun, the gradient? I think she's been doing ply on the fly. So spin, 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 and then wind off, chain ply, and then keep going. Spin, 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 wind off, chain ply. Yeah. Super fun, gorgeous colors. And then this is from Jessie, tea, cake, and some time with my Jelligan as a well-deserved break from touristing at Becca's local yarn shop. So this was when Jessie and her partner, her husband, were in Scotland. They stopped for, doesn't this just look so lovely? And there's flowers. Oh, so lovely. This is from Kim. She's been hooked on spindle spinning for her trip. Really loving the progress. I think, Kim, if I get this wrong, I'm so sorry. I think they were up in Alaska for their trip. And she's been working on some Wensleydale on one spindle and some Corriedale on the other. And this is from Dabia. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Started a supported spindling for Tour de Fleece, and she's been working off of this gorgeous prep here and getting this lovely textured singles. Yeah, only 4 ounces. That's still an undertaking when you're new to spindling. It feels like it's gonna last forever, and then all of a sudden, it's done. And this is from Diane. She's been working on some silk, working on this some more. And from Elizabeth, I loved these colors, Elizabeth. What a gorgeous spin. This is a similar color that June, who's another integral member of our community, she was working on these similar colors, and oh my goodness, they're just gorgeous wrapped on the spindles. Like, it's just so pretty. This is some BFL that she was working on. I'm not sure what June's was, but same, like just gorgeous colors, just like these. And this is from Liz. What a beautifully wound turtle. Today I was pretty busy, so I got some spindling done. It is a gorgeous little spindle. Look at those colors. I love them, the arms. Thank you, you guys. As always, thank you for everything that you do and for sharing all of your projects and all of your spins, your makes. Thank you for letting me share them here on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I know today was another really long show. I feel like we haven't gathered here to have like a traditional podcast episode for a while, so it's lovely to be able to be here with you guys. The Wool Circle with Rebecca will meet and gather next Tuesday, same time at 11 a.m. Pacific. And then I will be back on September 1st with another live stream, and we will absolutely get into this woven, hand spun, hand woven, hand sewn project. Next show, we'll start off with that. So I'm sorry we didn't get to it today, but I know you guys understand. All right, until next time, have a wonderful couple of weeks. I hope that I see you here next time for the Wool Circle. If you're wondering what all of that is about, please click the Start Here guide. It really helps you to get going and get started with what we're all about and why you might want to join our community. And I hope you guys have a really great rest of your summer. For those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere, it has been a summer. I know people are still dealing with wildfires, and you know, there's been sickness, and people are just have a lot on their plates. So, you know, we're all thinking about all of us, and you know, keeping everyone in our hearts and in our minds. So Christine says she doesn't mind the long shows. We get to hang out longer. It's true. I know, you're absolutely right. Rebecca says, can't wait to see you all next week. Rebecca's finally back next week, so you guys will get to hear all about what she's been doing. So it'll probably be another long show, which you guys really enjoy. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy making, happy spinning, happy all the things. Bye, everyone.